This is Danny Gilfillan for SecondsOut. We're in Manchester. We've just had the final press conference for Franchon Crews-Dezurn versus Savannah Marshall. It's a pleasure to be joined by boxers Ben Shalom. Ben, I'm sure this hasn't been the easiest show to get organised, even getting back to the open workout yesterday, but we've got here. Just how excited for you for this fight?
I can't believe you don't have a mic and we're seconds out. You need to tell
Don't be like that. The Vinny's using it for the presser.
You need to tell Danny Flexon. Really excited. It's been an easy fight to make, to be honest. It's been a fight that became obvious when we couldn't get the rematch straight away, and Peter's always felt that Savannah's better at super middleweight and she's more comfortable and we're going to see a better fighter. You can't buy the experience that she had in October. The attention, the sort of pressure, the awareness, fighting the best fighter in the world. She's going to be a better fighter for it, but this is a must-win fight for both of them to stay at that elite level. Savannah's obviously got big things to come, but I'd say it's a 50-50 fight. It's a fight that fans are going to absolutely love because Franchon's going to bring it from round one, and Savannah's going to, for me, have to perform and do a career best performance to win on Saturday night.
With all the trouble with the Eubank Junior Smith rematch, like was postponed, then sort of postponed indefinitely, was there ever any doubt that you would keep the show going?
Never in doubt. Savannah Marshall can headline any arena in the country. She's one of the only females that can. She did it in the O2 in October. She's headlined twice in Newcastle. I think when we sat down with Savannah, we said, look, do we move it back to Newcastle or do we keep it in Manchester? And there've been that many tickets bought, that many trains, that many hotels, but we couldn't do that, and Savannah didn't want to do that, and in the end it's worked out extremely well. There'll be 8,000 in there on Saturday night for Savannah Marshall, who's just doing things that other fighters in the women's sport aren't doing, and things that other fighters will aspire to do. So yeah, no doubt it stayed on. Obviously Shelley and Jeffers for me could be fight of the night. Mark Jefferson known for a long time fighting in his own town. Ben Whittaker obviously returns. Tasha Jonas is also going to become, or hoping to become, a two-weight world champion as well. For Savannah and Tasha to be doing that on the same card is pretty special. So yeah, huge night.
Hope you've not jinxed it for Natasha there, but obviously, as you say, fighting for the opportunity to become a two-weight world champion. Do you think it's fair to say, on paper, Candy Wyatt maybe not the toughest test for a world title, coming off 3 losses in her last 4?
Look, she's been over here and caused an upset in the past. She's a worthy opponent. At the end of the day, when you get presented with an opportunity to become, as I say, a two-weight world champion, you have to take it. I think for Tasha, when we signed her, she was a lightweight. She then almost became a super welterweight overnight. Won 1 title, 2 titles, 3 titles, but she feels the big fights are at welterweight and at super lightweight. She's now about legacy, and as I say, to get the opportunity to fight for another world title, you can't turn it down. Beyond that, she wants the big names. We obviously will see Sandy Ryan against Jessa McCaskill. We'll see at 140 Chantal Cameron at Katie Taylor. That's, I think, where she wants to be. And so she's got 12 months left to try and achieve what's left of her unbelievable career.
Just away from Saturday night, Ben, Lawrence Okolie, it's been, coming up to a month now since the loss to Chris Smith. Are we any sort of further forward on whether he's going to activate a rematch clause or potentially look to move up the heavyweight?
I think there will be a rematch. I think it's a matter of when. I think Chris Smith's due to fight in October. I think Richard Riappo is also going to be fighting for a world title soon. So that cruiserweight division is on fire. I think Lawrence has sat down with his team, expressed that he wants a rematch. We've been speaking to Sky this week about how would things happen, how can things fall into place, what mandatories might Chris have coming up as well. So it's an exciting division. It's a great division. I expect to see Lawrence back soon, and obviously Phillip Smith in October. So yeah, we'll see. We've not made a decision on that yet.
If it was to be a rematch, you think it makes sense to take that back to Bournemouth?
I think Chris Smith will fight in Bournemouth as long as world champion. Unbelievable fan base down there. He's built an absolute dynasty on the South Coast. So yeah, he'll continue to fight in Bournemouth.
Just want to talk about the heavyweight division. Firstly, a man of your own stable, Martin Bakole. Really impressive performance against Hulk. I'm not going to try and pronounce his full name. When do you think we're going to see Martin back in the ring? He's seen as a bit of boogeyman in the heavyweight division. There's sort of no one would argue he's one of the top fighters without a belt. But when do you think you'll get him back and sort of, I think, another step-up fight?
I'm going to speak to Billy and John next week and actually sit down and work it out. That heavyweight division is moving so slow that it's not everyone is feeling the effects. I think I saw something on Twitter about top 17 in BoxRec not fighting or not having a scheduled fight. Obviously saw Zhang Joyce scheduled today or announced today, which is great, but we'll sit down next week. It's frustrating, that division at the moment. Everything is moving so slow.
You brought me on perfectly to the next question. It feels like outside of the heavyweight division, boxing's in a really good place. You've got, the card here, like big fights in the women's division are happening all the time. You've got Spence, Crawford, like loads of really good fights being made at the lower weights as well. But as you say, everything with the heavyweight division just seems to be really, really slow at the minute. There's always like issues with rematch clauses, purse splits. Just want to get your thoughts on that. Firstly, like we've seen the latest developments with this potential Joshua Dillian White fight, that they're going to revoke the rematch clause that they insisted on. Just what were your thoughts on just general this constant like imposition of rematch clauses, purse splits that seems to be holding up what should be the best division in the sport?
I think I've said before, I think when there's a pot of gold and everyone's waiting for it, whether that's Saudi is going to happen, isn't going to happen, I think that causes a lot. I think when fighters can be paid that much money for a single fight, it does stagnate the division. I think a combination of that and the governing bodies not wanting to order mandatories as well, something has to be done. The sport has to reconsider how it's structured and how it orders mandatories and how they can be held up in the interest of money, because ultimately that's what's holding up the sport. And as much as it's great when we get a massive night in Saudi and things happen, what happens for the rest of the year? What happens for next year and things like that? I think the sport needs to look at itself and come first, and mandatories maybe need to be set in place where they are just happening regardless of what money might be coming next.
You mentioned the governing bodies not imposing mandatories. We saw that recently, that the WBC wouldn't be making Tyson Fury defend against a mandatory, and then Frank Warren's came out today and said an undisputed fight with Usyk's not going to happen in December. So just like as a fan, how frustrating is that? I know I've interviewed you before and you said like promotional ties aside, I really want to see that fight happen, and just how disappointing is that, and sort of what's going on with Tyson Fury?
Yeah, it is. As you say, as a fan, it's like bewildering. I'm hoping you've got to understand the sport needs these fights, even as much as the rest of the sport is buzzing. You need the heavyweight division, and I worry when it has an impact on broadcasters, on sponsors, and how they view the sport. Do they want to continue? It has wider effects, and so at some point something has to be done. This system clearly doesn't work. How can you have any sport that just stops? Imagine that happening even in MMA and wrestling, just stops. That's what's happened to our sport. It just stops, and it's a bit mental.
Well, I hate to go from one down to another, but last thing I want to ask you about, because there's a bit of a queue here, just it looks like this Conor Benn, Chris Eubank fight's going to happen. Eddie Hearn said, sort of regardless of what happens with UKAD, if the UKAD suspension isn't lifted, they'll take it to Abu Dhabi. I've been speaking to people throughout the week and just sort of wanting to pick people's thoughts on like what sort of message does that send for the sport when sort of like whilst a pending investigation can be going on for a failed drugs test, you can just take it to Saudi Arabia or take it to Abu Dhabi. Yeah,
I don't like going back and forth at all, but I don't think that is an issue that is about any one individual. This is you can't talk about it until UKAD have done what they need to do. I want, as much as anyone, I think boxing fans would like Conor Benn to be innocent, would like it to come to a conclusion. But you have to wait till what UKAD have done before you think about what's next for a fighter like that. Otherwise, again, what is this? It just becomes... I think anyone can see looking in. There's no point talking about the fight until UKAD have done what they need to do. Yeah, and Ben, thanks very much. I'll just let you close. Just why should fans tune in for the show on Saturday night? Listen, this is a next big women's fight in boxing. It's a special fight. It's the heavyweight division, I feel, of the women's sport. Franchon's coming to win, Savannah's coming to win. There's everything on the line. It's the best fight in the best, and the atmosphere in the arena on Saturday will be incredible. Well said. Ben Shalom, thanks very much, mate. Cheers, mate. Thank you.